My love, there is one sentence. And when a man says it to you, it changes the whole game. By the end of this conversation, I'll tell you exactly what that sentence is and why it has the power to turn a man who has just been hovering around you into someone who is completely captivated by you. But before we get there, you need to understand something fundamental. That will change the way you approach relationships from today on. I'll tell you directly, without sugarcoating. At my age, I don't have time to make things sound nice. Here's your first practical tool of the day. If a man seeks you, but doesn't truly choose you, then don't choose him either. It's that simple. Remember that. Engrave it deep in your heart. That's not a lack of self-love. That's pure emotional intelligence. And if you stay with me for the next few minutes, you'll not only understand what men say when they're truly interested, but also how to recognize in real time whether they see you as a priority or just as an option. And before we go on, if what you've heard so far has touched you even a little, leave me a comment below and tell me where you're listening from. Whether from Mexico, Colombia, Spain, or anywhere else in the world where women are tired of settling for crumbs. And if you know someone, a friend, a sister, a colleague who needs to hear this, share this video with her. Because what we're talking about today isn't just for you, but for all of us who are reclaiming our personal power. Let me tell you something that has become absolutely clear to me. After 40 years of working with people, after countless stories, dramas, and emotional wounds, women are incredibly intelligent when it comes to solving complex problems, anticipating needs, and reading between the lines. But when it comes to interpreting the signals of a man they like, suddenly that intelligence seems to vanish. Do you know why? Because something comes into play that psychologists call confirmation bias. And in simple terms, you see what you want to see. When you like a man, your brain desperately looks for every tiny sign to confirm that he's interested too. A message at 11 at night becomes a declaration of love. 3-second glance is seen as a cosmic connection. And we'll talk later, suddenly, sounds like a promise of a shared future. My love, that's not female intuition. It's self-deception with honors. And I'm not telling you this to bring you down, but because you need to wake up from this illusion. If you truly want healthy, mature relationships where you don't have to beg for attention or plead for clarity, then here comes the uncomfortable truth that few will tell you. A man who is genuinely interested in you doesn't make you guess. He doesn't keep you hanging until he has time. He doesn't appear and disappear like a ghost in a dimly lit graveyard. A truly interested man is clear, consistent, and makes you feel chosen, not just lucky that he texted you. And what I'm telling you isn't some cheesy romantic advice. It's pure neurobiology. When a man is truly emotionally invested in you, his brain produces oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, a whole chemical explosion that naturally drives him to seek you out, be present, invest time and energy, doesn't need reminders or begging. His nervous system pulls him toward you. That's how the biology of desire works. So if you constantly have to remind him that you exist, if you're always the one starting the conversation, if you feel like you're juggling just to keep his interest alive, then let me lovingly tell you, that man is not interested. He's bored. He's available for a bit of distraction, but he's not choosing you. And you deserve so much more than to be someone's plan B. However, that doesn't mean you should act like an ice statue and wait for men to fall at your feet without doing anything. It's not about playing hard to get or using manipulative tricks from the internet. It's about something much deeper, much more powerful. It's about choosing yourself first. And when you choose yourself, when you decide that your time, your energy, and your self-respect are not on sale, your whole energy changes. And I'm not talking about vibes or some esoteric laws of attraction. I'm talking about something very concrete. When you value yourself, you radiate confidence. And confidence, my dear reader, is the strongest aphrodisiac there is, far more powerful than any expensive perfume or tight dress. A man can feel when a woman knows who she is, what she's worth and what she refuses to tolerate. And believe me, That throws him off balance in the most delicious way. I've seen it thousands of times in my sessions. A woman comes in completely devastated because the man she's been texting and talking to for months suddenly vanished. She torments herself, searching for reasons, wondering what she did wrong, what she should have said or not said to keep him from disappearing. And then, at some point, she lets go. She decides she won't chase anyone who doesn't appreciate her. She starts focusing on herself, on her projects, her well-being, her own life. And guess what happens? Often that very same man reappears. But here's the key. At that moment, she's no longer interested. Because in the process of letting go, she's discovered something far more valuable. Her own power. And a woman who knows her power accepts nothing less than what she truly deserves. That's the real transformation. It's not about getting the man. It's about becoming the woman who only accepts men who rise to her level. And I promise you, once you reach that point, everything changes. But let's get back to the practical part, boys, because I know you're listening and thinking, yeah, that all sounds great. But I want to know what men really say, do, and how they act when they're genuinely interested. That's exactly what we're going to break down in detail now. But before we do, if what you've heard so far has opened your eyes even just a little, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, because we'll be uploading honest and direct content like this every week. And believe me, in the next few minutes, you won't want to miss a thing. So, what do men say when they're truly interested? Here comes the first clue, one that's often overlooked for precisely this reason. Man who is genuinely interested talks about the future. He uses language that includes both of you. He talks about plans, things he wants to do with you. He doesn't sell you castles in the air, doesn't promise you trips to Dubai when he can barely afford a taxi, but he includes you in his vision of life. He says things like, when we go there next weekend, we could, or I want you to meet this person. These are small but significant signs that he's integrating you into his world. And that's crucial, because men who just want to have fun or are only passing through never talk about the future. They stay stuck in a comfortable, vague present. We'll see. Maybe. We'll talk about it later. Such unclear statements are red warning signs. A man who takes you seriously doesn't keep you in limbo. Secondly, a man who is interested asks questions. And I don't mean just polite standard ones like, how was your day? Though that counts. He shows real curiosity about your story, your dreams, your fears, about what makes you laugh or annoys you. And most importantly, he remembers what you tell him, because here lies the difference many women overlook. Any man can ask questions out of politeness or just to fill awkward silences, but a truly interested man remembers the answers. If you told him 2 weeks ago that you had an important meeting, he'll ask how it went. If you casually mentioned that you love a certain type of music, he'll send you songs in that style. If you told him something has been bothering you, he'll check in a few days later to see how you're feeling. That, my dear listener, is genuine interest. That's a man who collects emotional information about you because you matter to him. The difference between him and someone who's just killing time is enormous. And now, to a point that confuses many women. Communication. There's this widespread myth that men don't like to talk, that they're naturally quiet. And yes, to some extent, it's true that many men aren't as verbally expressive as women. But let me tell you one thing. When a man is in love, or truly interested, he finds the words. Maybe he won't write you poems or deliver dramatic monologues, but he'll show you how he feels. He'll tell you he likes you, that he enjoys your company, that he's thinking of you. He won't leave you guessing for months, whether he's into you or whether you're just his friend, with confusion potential. A man who genuinely wants you in his life makes it clear. And if he doesn't, it's because he's unsure, or simply doesn't want anything serious with you. And in both cases, if the answer for you is the same, move on. Another thing men do when they're truly interested. And this one is very revealing. They introduce you to their close circle. They take you along to meet their friends, include you in social plans, talk about you to important people in their lives. Why? Because often unconsciously, they want to validate their choice. Men need their environment to approve of the woman they're interested in. It's part of their bonding process. So if you've been seeing a man for months, and you're still a state secret, if you don't know anyone from his circle, if all his social media photos show him alone or with friends, but never with you, it's telling you something very clear. It's not because he's shy, it's not because he values his privacy. It simply means he doesn't see you as a solid part of his life period. You can twist it, rationalize it, find 1,000 explanations. But the truth remains the same. And the sooner you accept it, the sooner you'll be able to make choices that protect your heart. And since we're on the topic of signals, let me tell you something many women misunderstand. Intensity at the beginning. You meet a man, and it's a whirlwind. He texts you all day, showers you with compliments, wants to see you constantly, makes you feel like the most extraordinary woman in the world, and you get swept up in that intensity. Because, after a long emotional drought or lukewarm relationships, it feels amazing, but here's the problem. That intensity is often not love, but fear. The chemical high of something new, and when that high fades, he disappears or suddenly becomes distant. And this happens because some men don't fall in love with the person, they fall in love with the feeling of being in love. They love the thrill of the chase, the adrenaline of the beginning. But when it comes to real building, commitment, or everyday life, they lose interest and move on. My advice: be wary of sudden intensity. A mature man, a man who knows what he wants, builds interest step by step. He's steady, reliable, not fireworks that burn bright for 2 weeks and then go out. He's a flame that burns quietly and steadily. And now comes something you should deeply remember, because it will save you a lot of heartache. Attention to how a man treats you when he no longer has to impress you, when the courting phase is over. When he's no longer in seduction mode, that's when you see the real person. Does he still treat you with respect? Does he include you in his decisions? Does he make you feel valued? Or does he become indifferent, inattentive, selfish? Because believe me, I've seen it 1,000 times. Most men can show their best side during the chase, but the man who truly belongs with you is the one who treats you well when he no longer has to prove anything. That's the man who's worth it, the one who treats you with love, not to win you, but because he genuinely appreciates you. And since we're talking about appreciation, let's move to a question I'm often asked. How do I know if a man respects me? Because respect, my dear listener, is the foundation of every healthy relationship. Without respect, there's nothing. You can have passion, chemistry, and attraction, but without respect, the relationship is doomed to fail, or worse, to lead to emotional abuse. So, how does respect show itself in concrete actions? A man who respects you, listens to you, even when he disagrees. He doesn't constantly interrupt you, make fun of you, or make you look foolish just because you think differently. A man who respects you values your time. He doesn't cancel plans at the last minute without a valid reason. He doesn't show up late regularly as if your time were less important. He doesn't make you wait hours for a reply while he's clearly online. A man who respects you protects your reputation. He doesn't speak badly about you, expose you, or share intimate details of your relationship with others. A man who respects you honors your boundaries. When you tell him that something bothers you, he respects it. He doesn't try to convince you that you're overreacting. He doesn't manipulate you emotionally to get his way. And a man who respects you stands up for you. He doesn't leave you alone when someone insults you. He doesn't allow others to speak badly about you in his presence. He doesn't play neutral when he should be standing by your side. And now comes something important. Respect is not something you negotiate or ask for. You establish from the beginning what you will tolerate and what you will not, and you uphold that through actions, not just words. Because you can say 1,000 times that you won't accept certain things, but if you stay, even when they happen, you show that your boundaries are just decoration, without consequences. And that's exactly where many women lose their power. They set paper boundaries, ones that collapse with the first gust of wind, and then wonder why men don't respect them. But my love, no one will respect boundaries that you don't respect yourself. If you say you'll leave when something happens, and then you don't, you lose credibility. And in relationships, credibility is everything. So ask yourself, honestly, do you live in alignment with what you say and what you do? Because it's one thing to say, I deserve respect, and it's another to behave as though you truly believe you deserve it. And behaving as though you deserve respect means speaking up when something isn't right. It means stopping someone when they cross a line. And it means walking away when a man doesn't treat you the way you deserve to be treated. Simple, and yet so hard. Because I know how difficult it is to let go of someone you like, who attracts you, with whom you share special chemistry. But let me tell you something you may only truly understand with time. It's far more painful to stay in a relationship where you're not valued than to leave someone who isn't meant for you. The pain of staying is slow. It eats away at you piece by piece. It diminishes your self-worth, makes you believe you may really not deserve more. The pain of letting go, on the other hand, is sharp, but temporary. It hurts in the moment, but afterward comes freedom, clarity, peace. And now we come to what I promised you at the beginning. The sentence that, when a man truly means it, shows that he has crossed an important emotional threshold. But before I tell you what it is, you need to understand the context. Men in general are not as emotionally expressive as women. They've been conditioned not to show vulnerability, not to appear too sentimental. That's why it's something special when a man overcomes that cultural barrier and says something that exposes him emotionally. I don't mean you should melt over every nice compliment or excuse bad behavior with beautiful words, but there are certain statements that show a man is connecting with you on a deeper level. One of those statements, which many women don't even recognize as significant, though it is, goes like this: you make me want to be a better man. Listen carefully. When a man tells you that, when he realizes that your presence inspires him to work on himself, to grow, to evolve, that's something incredibly powerful. In that moment, he's assigning you a transformative value in his life. Men don't say that lightly. They don't say it to a woman they're just passing time with or see as a temporary distraction. They say it to the woman who challenges them, inspires them, and pushes them to rise above themselves. And that, my dear reader, is a clear sign that you hold an important place in his emotional world. But be careful. Here lies the subtle difference. Just because he says it doesn't automatically mean he's yours, or that you should cling to him as if he were the last man on earth. It means there is genuine interest and connection. But from there to a truly healthy, committed relationship, there's still a long road he must travel, through actions, not words, because this happens often. Some men use beautiful words to keep you emotionally tied, while they're still figuring out whether they even want something serious. They tell you what you want to hear, make you feel special, but when it's time to take responsibility, they hit the brakes, and that's exactly where you need to be wise. Words without actions are just poetry, not reality. So yes, be happy when a man says something meaningful, but keep your eyes open to see if his behavior matches his words. There are other phrases just as revealing. For example, when a man says, I've never met anyone like you. If this sentence is genuine, it means you've broken his inner mold. You don't fit into any of his previous categories. You've brought something new, unexpected, and real into his life. And men, even if you might not believe it, also have mental lists of what their ideal partner should be like. When you show up and throw that list into disarray, when you surprise him with your way of being, your intelligence, your authenticity, you stay in his mind. But again, context is everything. If he says something like that on the first date, while trying to get you into bed, it's most likely just a rehearsed line. But if he says it after truly getting to know you, after real conversations, shared moments, after seeing you in different situations, then it carries weight. Another powerful phrase is, "But I trust you." It may sound simple, but for men, trust is a central issue. On an emotional level, it's hard for them to truly open up. They can have many friends they spend time with, but real trust, they give that to very few people. So when a man tells you that he trusts you, he's giving you access to a privileged space. He's signaling that he sees you as someone safe, someone who won't use his vulnerability against him. And in a man's world, that's pure gold. Then of course, there's the classic phrase many women wait to hear, "I like you," or "I love you." But here's the caution. Those words have lost much of their value through overuse. Many say them without truly feeling them, simply because they think they're supposed to at a certain stage of a relationship. So, don't focus only on the fact that he says it, but on when he says it, how he says it, and above all, how he treats you when he doesn't say it. Because love isn't a constant high. It's not an endless state of romantic ecstasy. Real love shows itself on gray days, in moments of fatigue, in everyday choices, in choosing each other, even when it's not easy or exciting. Do you know which statement I also find revealing? When a man says, "I want to meet your family," or "I want you to meet my family," that means integration. That's the step out of the small bubble of just the two of you and into something bigger. Men don't associate family with casual relationships. If he invites you into that space, if he's ready for you to meet his family or to meet yours, he sees you as someone who could stay. But, and this is important, don't marry him in your mind just because he invited you to a family dinner. Take it for what it is. A positive sign that should be accompanied by many other positive signs to confirm that you're both heading in the same direction. And, speaking of direction, here's a question that often comes up. How long does it take to know if a man is serious? My answer is always the same. There's no fixed timeline. Some men know after 3 months that they want something serious. Others still don't know after 2 years. But here's the crucial point. You have the right to set your own timeline. You don't have to wait forever for him to decide. You can clearly say, "Look, I'm looking for a serious relationship." For commitment, if you want the same, great, let's move forward. If not, that's fine, too. But I'm not going to sit here and wait while you make up your mind. That's not pressure. That's not an ultimatum. That's clarity and self-respect. And now comes something that might sound harsh, but it's true. If a man truly wants something with you, he doesn't need years to decide. He doesn't need to find himself first while you wait patiently. That's an excuse. A mature man who knows what he wants acts. When he meets a woman who truly interests him, he may not propose after a month, but he leaves no doubt that he wants to build something with you. He integrates you into his life. He makes plans for the future. He talks about you, too. He doesn't keep you trapped in endless uncertainty. So, if you've been with someone for months or even years who still doesn't know whether he wants something serious, let me lovingly tell you this. He knows exactly what he wants. He just doesn't want it with you. Maybe he wants you for convenience, for company, for easy affection and comfort. But when it comes to a real committed relationship, he's looking for someone else. Or maybe he's simply not at that point in his life. And in the meantime, you wait, investing your time, your emotions, your heart in someone who isn't truly choosing you. How much longer, my dear reader? How long will you settle for crumbs when you deserve the entire feast? And before you keep reading, if what I've said resonates with you, if you feel that you needed to hear this, then give this video a like and share it with a friend you know is going through the same thing. Because this isn't just information, it's transformation. And the more women understand this, the fewer will settle for mediocre relationships. Now, let's shift the focus, because I want to show you what you can do to become the kind of woman that truly valuable men long for. And I don't mean changing who you are or turning yourself into someone you're not. I mean refining, strengthening, and bringing out the best parts of yourself. Because one thing is certain, you can't control what a man does. You can't force him to appreciate you or choose you. But you can control who you are, how you show up in the world, and what kind of energy you radiate. And believe me, that changes everything. The first and most important step, work on your self-worth. And I don't mean the superficial kind that feeds on social media likes and other people's compliments. I'm talking about a deep, inner sense of worth built on true recognition of your value. A woman with healthy self-worth doesn't need constant validation. She doesn't check her phone every 5 minutes to see if he's texted. She doesn't interpret his silence as a reflection of her value. She knows she's worthy, whether he sees it or not. And that inner certainty is magnetic. It attracts mature men and repels the immature ones. Exactly what you want. And how do you build that self-worth? Not overnight, and not with 2 affirmations in front of a mirror. And though that can help, it's built through consistent self-care. When you treat yourself well, when you speak to yourself kindly, when you make yourself a priority in your own life, your brain registers that. Step by step, it begins to believe that you truly are valuable. That's pure neuroplasticity. Your thoughts and actions literally reshape your brain. Every time you choose to protect yourself instead of neglecting yourself, every time you set a boundary instead of tolerating the unacceptable, you train your neural pathways towards self-respect. Second point, build your own life. Nothing kills a man's interest faster than a woman whose entire universe revolves around him. If your happiness depends on whether he texts you or not, whether he reaches out or not, you become predictable. And forgive the honesty, a little boring. Men are drawn to women who have their own lives, projects, friendships, passions, goals. It shows that you are a complete person, not a half waiting for her other half. And here's something that might surprise you. When you focus on your own life, when you're busy becoming the best version of yourself, you automatically become more attractive. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because, frankly, you have better things to do than chase a man. Third point, learn to communicate effectively. This is crucial. Many women complain that men don't understand what they need. When I ask whether they've clearly communicated, the answer is often no. But he should know. If he really loved me, he'd notice. My dear reader, that's not communication. That's magical thinking. Men are not mind readers. If you need something, say it. If something bothers you, talk about it clearly and respectfully, not accusingly or manipulatively. There's a huge difference between, you never pay attention to me. All you care about are your friends. And lately, I've been feeling like we're not spending much time together. I'd really like us to have more shared moments again. The first sentence blames. The second opens the door to change. Guess which one works better? Fourth point, don't lose your independence. And this is one of the most common mistakes. A relationship begins, and suddenly the woman gives up everything that once mattered to her. She stops seeing her friends because he doesn't like them. She gives up her hobbies because he doesn't share them. She adopts his interests, his opinions, even his style, believing that's how she'll keep him. A fatal mistake. All she achieves is that he loses interest, because she's no longer the fascinating, self-sufficient woman he fell for in the first place. Keep your friendships, your interests, your individuality. A healthy relationship isn't a fusion. It's two whole people choosing to share their lives without losing themselves. And now comes something that often sparks debate, but must be said. Stop chasing. Men, seriously, stop. Being the one who always texts first, makes plans, and is constantly available. I'm not saying you should play games or act aloof. I'm saying that if you're the one doing all the giving and keeping the relationship alive, something's wrong. In a healthy relationship, both row the boat, both invest, both reach out. If you're the only one doing the work, you're teaching him that he can have you without effort. And what comes without effort is rarely valued. It's simple biology. We humans value what costs us something, what we work for, not what falls into our laps. So take a step back. Watch what happens when you stop being the one who always texts first, who organizes the dates, who keeps the conversations alive. If he doesn't reach out, doesn't take initiative, shows no real interest, then you have your answer. Yes, it hurts. But better to see it now than after years of your time and heart invested. The beautiful thing about stepping back is that you create space for someone who truly values you, who makes an effort, who consciously chooses you. As long as you invest your time and energy in someone who doesn't reciprocate, there's no room for the one who would. Many women fail to understand this simple yet crucial distinction, the difference between attracting and chasing. Attracting means being so fulfilled, confident, and interesting that valuable men are naturally drawn to you. Chasing means running after someone to convince him to choose you. The woman who attracts doesn't beg for attention, she draws it effortlessly. The woman who chases loses herself, trying to be enough for someone who already decided she isn't. If you recognize yourself in the second type, don't be hard on yourself. We've all been there. But now that you understand, you can consciously choose differently. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing, the moment you focus on yourself, set clear boundaries, recognize your worth, everything changes. Suddenly, the men who once ignored you start to appear. It's not magic, it's energy. You no longer radiate neediness, but inner abundance, and abundance is irresistible. A man can sense when a woman is whole, when she doesn't need him to be happy, but chooses him because he enriches her life. That's completely different from a woman who needs someone to fill her emptiness or distract her from loneliness. Ask yourself honestly, are you choosing or clinging? Choosing is an act of freedom and strength. Clinging is an act of fear. The woman who chooses knows she'll be fine with or without him. The one who clings believes that without him, nothing makes sense. But no healthy relationship is born out of fear. True love is born out of freedom, conscious choice, and the desire to share life, and not from the need to be completed. Healthy relationships also mean recognizing red flags early. There are men who show great interest but act from an unhealthy place. They control you, always want to know where you are, get jealous if you don't reply immediately, or isolate you from your friends. That's not love. That's possessiveness. And possessiveness is the beginning of abuse. Others show insecurity by constantly criticizing you, downplaying your successes, or comparing you to others. Some overstep your boundaries, manipulate you, or punish you with silence. And if you start doubting your sanity, constantly apologizing, and believing everything is your fault, you're in a cycle of emotional abuse, known as gaslighting. If you recognize such patterns, leave. Don't wait for him to change, and don't believe you can heal him with your love. People change only if they truly want to, and many never do. You're not here to save anyone. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your mental and emotional health. Maybe you feel discomfort as you read this, or recognize patterns from your past. That's good. It means you're ready to change. Change hurts, but it's necessary to grow. And if you're wondering whether your standards are too high, let me tell you this. Having standards doesn't make you difficult. It means you respect yourself. Having standards means knowing what you deserve and refusing to settle for less. That's not ego. That's self-love. Because in the end, it's not about impressing someone or forcing love. It's about returning to yourself, recognizing your worth, and understanding that true connection only happens when two whole people meet. When you respect yourself, know your boundaries, and stop settling for half-truths, you begin to build relationships from strength, not from lack. You no longer live in fear of being abandoned. Because you know, your worth doesn't depend on whether someone stays or leaves. You become the woman who chooses, not the one who hopes. And that, my dear reader, is the essence of this entire journey. You don't have to prove to anyone that you are worthy of love. You just have to believe it yourself. When you choose yourself, the quality of the people who enter your life changes. Men who want to keep you, small will drift away, and men who truly value you will find you. In the end, love is not a game of power or control. It's the meeting of two people who truly see, respect, and allow each other to grow. And when you reach that point, my dear reader, you'll no longer ask, will he choose me? But rather, do I choose him? And that, exactly that, is freedom.